Project Creation is a podcast dedicated to Ashes of Creation. It's friends coming together to talk about your favorite game. Project Creation is for any listener looking for more information about Ashes of Creation. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Project Creation. Today we're going to be talking about weapons and armor. Stay tuned for more. Since stats are such an important topic, which approach would you guys like Intrepid to take? Do you guys want to see more of a static approach, like a 1-to-1 ratio with stats, or do you guys want to see stats? The strength in stats is greatly improves your character.
I want to see a 1-to-1 ratio. Give me 1 point of strength is 1 point of damage or dex, whatever my main stat is. Don't make it too complicated. Don't make the numbers too grand. Keep it controlled, I guess.
What about you?
Second.
Yeah?
Yeah, I second. Yeah, because you don't want anything like out of this world as far as numbers.
Nah.
1-to-1, you know. That way later on, and you don't have to do that number crunch.
Yeah, and I think it's bad when a game starts off with high stats and you're just like, there's so many stats. Like I'm a naked character. I don't have anything. I don't have any strength. I can't jump, you know.
You're hitting hundreds of thousands of
damage
damage numbers. The numbers get so big that they don't matter almost.
Yeah, I know. And that's what was a big problem with WoW too, right? Like their numbers got too high, so they had to shrink them down. Like people were doing hundreds and hundreds of thousands of damage, and I mean, that's cool. I'd rather see like 7K damage, and you're like, holy shit, dude, that dude just hit 7K, bro. Don't go by him, or we got to focus him, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's a fun element to it too. So what do you guys is take on the weapons and armors not being race or class locked?
I don't like things kind of being locked. I like you to be able to choose whatever, you know.
Right.
Just like you go.
Yeah,
That's
and
kind of my view on it.
yeah, that's true. Like I like the ability to use whatever, but the fact that certain classes benefit more from certain weapon types, I think that's going to be more of an incentive to use whatever type of class you're going for, you know, like if you're a sword and board tank, you know, you're going to probably use the sword and shield, and you have more benefit to use the sword and shield, so why not? I like how Intrepid's having that.
I definitely wouldn't want them to be race locked. That would suck, just to not be able to use certain items in the game just because you're not a specific race.
Right.
But as far as class locked, like, I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense for certain classes to use a shield. So why do they have the ability to use a shield?
That's another thing. I think that's kind of dumb, but it can't just be like, oh no, shields are off the cards. Like you can't have, only tanks can use shields, you know. But like if you really want to be able to use a shield as a mage, I mean, I don't know what purpose that's going to serve you other than like blocking damage, you know, of physical damage, but so be it. I just hope that there's no like big exploit with that, you know, like a mage shield is just insane. You can't kill him, you know, type.
I'm sure there'll be someone
shield in
to
a
find
wand.
a work way.
Yeah, shield in the
work
wand.
around it.
Yeah, and like I like the availability that people can do that, you know, but it's I wish they restricted it a little bit in that regard. And then since racial appearance gear is prevalent in AOC, will this dictate your guys' choice in gear type?
It definitely will.
And is that because of the way it looks, and that's just what you want? You guys just want to look badass?
Yes.
I mean, that's a big part of it. Yeah. Like I don't want to look lame. I don't want to run around looking.
But dude, some people like that. Like
armor.
They like those chain bikinis and whatnot. You know.
No.
I don't like that.
Yeah,
I don't like that at all.
Big plate armor. Give me some giant pauldrons and.
Yeah. Do you guys want like oversized type of gear like WoW is with the shoulders and all that, or do you guys want it to be?
I would like somewhere in between. Like I liked seeing the big shoulders in WoW. I think it's cool. Or in Diablo where they have like it's one of the bigger accent pieces of your gear set is the shoulder pieces.
Yeah,
I'm more
it's
so on the
definitely stylized.
practicality kind of side. You know, like yeah, having big pieces of armor is cool. It looks pretty good if they do it right, but you know, you're taking into account like for me, it's just the whole realistic aspect of it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you're not really gonna wear that if it's that big hunking
Yeah,
thing on your shoulder. You know.
and I get it for like the style of art it is, but for like AOC's style and fantasy, you could really take it wherever direction you really
Yeah.
want to. But I mean, I just like the most plain looking medieval armor, you know, like I'm never a big flashy type of guy, you know, so like seeing someone have like really adorned armor is like holy shit, that's like good armor, you know, like this dude's got like an eagle on his chest on his armor, you know, then I'm just wearing some leather like a leather tunic with you know, some male shoulders or whatever it is, you know. But yeah, so I mean, it seems that Ashes is going to be taking a more simplistic approach with that, which I like. But some of the weapons and armor that they have has been pretty flashy. If you guys have seen it, like that one staff they showed was
Yeah.
just very, very flashy, and I'm like, I wish they can take it down a notch. But
Less is more sometimes.
exactly, less is more, and I think that the guy, I forgot his name, but the dev that's designing the weapons, I think he knows that, but he's just, you know, experimenting with higher end and lower end stuff. So
I'm cool with your weapon is your main thing. I'm cool with it having some flair, looking big weapon, big sword. It looks cool.
yeah. All right. So weapons have procs that trigger off of the combo system. A player can spec into their weapon skill tree and further unlock abilities as they level up. What are your guys' thoughts on this system? We did get to see a picture of this with Steven when he was showing off the combat system, the hybrid combat system. He went into a little UI screen. He pulled up the UI screen on this. So, what do you guys think about that?
I feel like if that's going to be like a predominant thing and that's going to be a big part of, you know, the battle system, I'm going to struggle. I feel like I'm going to struggle.
Right, right, yeah. So,
I mean, they're
go
doing a
ahead.
lot with the battle system. I mean, there's a huge split with the tab target and the action. Maybe depending on which way that you sway changes the type of procs and abilities that you have access to. Like there's so much they could do with it that it's just kind of up in the air. That it's exciting to guess and try to figure it out, speculate.
Yeah. So like along with the weapon skill tree, the active skills on the active tree, because there's three different trees. You got your passives, you got your actives, and then you got your weapon skills, right? So with the weapon skill, along with that weapon skill tree, the active skill tree is a further way to synergize your character's abilities. Will this change the way you guys play your character in any regard, based on the actives being uh, synergized from the weapons, like in terms of which weapons you're going to use because you get different procs from your abilities, you know?
I don't know if it's gonna sway the weapons I'm gonna use. I think once I pick my I'm gonna already have the weapon I want to use, and I'm gonna find the abilities that I want to use with inside that weapon.
Right.
I don't think there's going to be a specific ability or specific proc that's gonna change what I want to play.
Right.
I think it might change mine a little bit just on the way it plays. Because it, I'm really big on, you know, I know I'm not that great of a skilled player in
Yeah.
games. Like, I know that. But just the way it plays, because that's a big thing to me. You know, if it plays well, then I'll keep what I have. You know, I don't like to change something so drastically. You know, so
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like if I get this is what I'm thinking between like a two-handed axe and a two-handed sword, and I really don't know which one I'm gonna choose, and I'll probably just use whatever best weapon it is, but because they're totally different fronts on how they proc and how your weapons are gonna or how your abilities are gonna synergize with that. So I might use certain weapons in PvP that I don't use in PvE just because of the proc difference, you know. And it could be like the crit chance or damage or whatever it is. I could just I could just see the changing out of weapons is going to be pretty regularly, just based on that front. If you guys do want to go into more of a skill type based combat, so. So how do you guys feel about the gear / weapon enhancements in AOC? And if you guys don't know too much about it, it's items found or that are crafted can be enchanted vertically to improve upon the weapon, or you could do it horizontally where you're changing out an ability. It's like a 1-for-1 swap on the ability. Like you have holy damage on this weapon and you want disease damage. You know, it's that. And also items imbued with runes and power stones grant temporary effects that fade and are unlocked via PvP progression. What are your thoughts about Intrepid implementing these systems?
One thing that it tells me is that getting new gear is going to be not rare, but less of an often occurrence. If you can constantly keep changing the weapon to be the weapon that you want it to be, or you have horizontal enchantments. Oh, I wanted the fire sword, but I got the ice sword. Okay, well I can fix it and get what I want out of it. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a constant. I need to get the new weapon. I need to grind for that weapon. I can just kind of make the weapon into what I want it to be. So I don't
Right.
mind that.
Yeah, and you can select each stats. If you're crafting the weapon, you can select the stats, and if you're vertically enchanting it, you can improve upon those stats rather than just swapping them out. You know, but yeah.
I mean, I like it, you know, because you could really focus on what you want, you know, and what you're going for, and instead of having that whole RNG aspect that a lot of games have, you know, I like it. It seems pretty neat.
Yeah, I think that the Power Stone thing's pretty cool because even though they're temporary effects and they're unlocked via PvP and stuff like that, that's going to be a whole different avenue to the game, you know, especially on the crafting and enchanting front, you know. So like people that want to enchant, they can enchant to improve upon your gear, or they can enchant to make you some better gear for PvP via Power Stones. So pretty
I
interesting.
do like that there's a chance for the item to be destroyed.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Because you can find some crazy weapons that people we're talking about procs that people didn't get the proc for the item to be destroyed. And you see these crazy enchanted weapons that people buffed it 10 times or whatever it is. You know,
Right. Yeah.
it's gonna be interesting.
I can
Is it gonna?
definitely see some people rage quitting because they destroyed some good gear just to
It
get
puts
that
so much
extra
money in.
money.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's your guys' favorite thing about legendary gear being implemented?
I don't know. I've never been at that point in the game where I got to that legendary aspect.
You never, dude. I've never found. Well, I haven't found a legendary in an MMO per se.
You know, so I guess if I ever get to that point,
Right.
you know, I don't know. I
Well,
like
like,
it, you know.
what do you want to see with them? Do you want to see them like super rare? Or do
Oh,
you
definitely,
like?
definitely.
They're
Yeah.
legendary. There should like.
Yeah.
I almost want to say that legendary items, whether it be armor, weapons, etc., should be like flying mounts in the game. Since
Yeah.
the flying mounts are almost there's only what 5 people in a server, very minimal amounts of people in a server that actually have a flying mount. I think if someone actually managed to get a legendary weapon, one the game should tell you that like, holy crap, this person just found Excalibur, whatever the legendary weapon may be, and then he should only be able to have it like the flying mount for a certain amount of time. It would suck if one person just has that legendary sword always, like, and forever, and never goes back into. I don't know how you would do that, but I mean, it would suck if nobody else in the game can ever get that again because that one person has it.
I mean,
Well,
I kind of feel like that's the risk versus
I mean,
reward. Though.
I
If
guess
that
that's
one
yeah.
person gets it, like they should be held as a hero. You know, like
yeah.
I guess that is the point of a legendary item. So maybe I don't.
exactly.
Maybe yeah. I'm second guessing or changing the way I see. But it does suck. Like if only that person has it. But I mean, I guess that's part of.
Well, I was
They
just
found it. Almost like.
this makes me. Did you guys ever see that South Park episode where it's the World of Warcraft South Park episode, and they
Yes.
Stan Marsh gets the that the sword of a thousand truths. That's just what I think, dude. Oh
Oh,
man.
definitely.
But yeah, like I like that legendary gear should be rare, very rare, and from the approach of what they want to do is that they're going to be doing that, and they want to hold it to that. Even I would say even more rare than the mount aspect, just because they want to keep that, that rarity on the server, and whether they let the item decay over time, and you just can't repair it because it's a legendary, you just can't repair it, or if they're forever indestructible and there's only a certain amount of them on the actual server and they just kind of you can sell them, so
I
even
like the decaying option because
yeah.
then it would once it decays and breaks, it could go back into the loot pool or whatever.
Hmm.
Makes it
But
to
this
where people
person,
aren't using it like a regular sword.
Right, yeah.
I mean, but then it would just I found a WoW case. I found Thunder Fury. I guess what I know I just have Thunder Fury forever because I'm never gonna use it. Like
Right. Yeah, and it sucks
that
if you
defeats the
get
purpose.
yeah, if you get an item and you just hold on to it just because you have it and somebody else could get it and actually use it. Um that I could see being a problem, but I also could see the trade aspect, because if it's decayed to where it's like only got 20% left, it's probably not going to be worth a lot of money, if because people are
Yeah,
just
but you
wanting.
get to use it and you get to. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
maybe
going
that's a
to
good
be
thing.
grand. It's going to look cool. It's going to be
Mhm.
legendary,
Yeah,
Maybe
for a
your
lack
name
of
would
better
be
word. But
written in the scrolls, as a part of Vera's history. Who knows?
right. Yeah, and
well,
it's
that'd be cool if you get it. It like kind of shows you the list of people that have held it before or something like that.
and there's always that small fraction percentage that you can get it on any mob. So whether it's
I don't know
whether
if any
it's
mob.
well, that's what I mean. Like whether it's just tied to raid mobs or that percentage to just roll a legendary, per se. So how do you guys feel about gear sets being in the game? What do you dislike or like about gear sets in MMOs or in games in general?
Gear sets are cool. The only problem I have with gear sets is it stifles your own ability to make your own set. Because now I just need to get all the pieces of, we'll say, armor of the bear, whatever it may be. It doesn't that matter too much. Maybe I want to make an. I mean, I guess it doesn't deter me from doing it, but like, oh, I want to make a crit build with a little bit of defense in it, or like whatever the build I want to make. The gear, if the gear sets are too strong, it's like, well, I have to use a gear set because they're so good.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I've always liked gear sets because they usually match.
Oh, you like it on the
So,
cosmetic front? Yeah.
yeah, that, to be honest, that's usually the other reason why I got gear sets.
Yeah, I like the bonuses it adds. Like those, if you have like 3 of 6, you get the first tier of bonus or whatever. And then if you have like all the pieces, you get the full unlocked additional abilities. I like that. I like when gear
With
sets.
the amount of things that you can equip in this game, like I wonder if like the amount that you need for a gear set. Like, are they
That would
gonna
be
have gear
interesting.
sets that are like 10 plus pieces? If you have all 10 pieces or whatever it is,
Right.
you summon Exodia.
Right. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
are they gonna have like smaller ones where it's like 2 to 3 size gear sets, and then you can mix and match the gear sets and come up with your own cool build.
Right. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a mashup for sure. What majority of people are going to do if they have certain bonuses that they get for just like 2 pieces of gear, and maybe a set is only 2 pieces. That's what's cool about
Maybe.
it. They don't have to make it a full set. Um, So some cool fun facts that I want to get into for our little closing out, but they're pretty interesting, and I think that AOC having these things is pretty fun to add. But let's go ahead and go through them. So the first one is there are tiers of gear, which is standard pretty much for all MMOs that players can access based on level. And how do you guys feel about tiered gear? Because there's always people that just hate it, or there's always people that are just like, no, this is an MMO. This needs to have tiered gear.
I mean, I don't have an issue with it. It's
Yeah.
just
I don't think I have one either. But I don't have any.
Standard, yeah, me neither.
it depends on how it's implemented. Is it I have to do this specific activity to be able to get to the next tier, or is it can I get to it in the means that I want to? You know.
Right. Yeah, like you wouldn't be able to unlock this, or you wouldn't be able to use this next tier unless you're this level type. What do you guys think about the 16 gear slots in AOC? 8 arms or armor, 5 jewelry slots, 2 weapons, and 1 ranged. And if you guys didn't know, ranged is going to be a weapon slot, so everybody can use a ranged weapon, and they have option to two different weapon slots.
That's a lot of gear.
Yeah. I'm
How
heavy.
How much does WoW have?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I don't think
6,
it's much,
7,
right? It's a lot less than 16.
9, 11, I think.
Yeah. And that still feels
And
like
one
a
of them
grind
is
too, right?
including shields. Like not every class is going to have a shield, so
Oh,
most
right.
classes
Have
would
10.
have 10.
Yep. Yeah, 16 pieces. Well, that's what I mean. Like 16 pieces is a lot of gear. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of gear out in the world, just to be able to fill the slot.
I think they should. Like, you don't need braces and gloves. Like, they can all just be one piece.
Yeah,
Right.
you just have a huge gauntlet on, right?
Yeah. Infinity stones, bro.
Right?
So yeah, I mean, with that, I don't know. I like it.
And
I
then
like a lot of gear. I like searching for a lot of gear, so I'm cool with it.
I mean,
I like it.
it's more to grind, more to get, more to play. But
Yeah.
you got 2 rings, 2 earrings, a necklace, like belt, chest, pants, boots. Like, there's a lot of gear. That's a lot of gear for sure. Gloves,
Be blinging
bracers,
out, man.
shoulders. Yeah.
Got bling on all my fingers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
No,
well, like they
I better
got
be
2
able to
earrings.
change the cosmetic of my earrings. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. You might, dude. You might. Just keep tweeting at them. I'm sure they'll change it.
Right.
So what do you guys feel? All right, so there's a cooldown between weapon swapping. That's pretty standard. I feel like that should be a thing.
Yeah.
No real brainer there. You can use a sword and shield, dual wield 2-handers in AOC along with 1 ranged weapon. That's what I was saying before. Melee weapons have a maxed range, and range weapons have a minimum distance of fire. So, I mean, that's going to have its own challenges for sure.
I like that. I mean, to take it back to D&D, if you're within 5 feet, you have disadvantage for a ranged weapon.
Right.
You should. It's going to be more difficult to shoot somebody with a bow if you're up close.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's going to be a challenge, though, because if you're going into weapon swapping and having that cooldown, you better make a plan, for that distance. You never know how far away they are.
Right, and
it brings in,
and it's really like
brings in the skill of having disengage abilities and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, that too. And even like it's really going to be like, what do you want as your primary and what do you want as your secondary? Like, do you want to keep the bow out, or do you want to have your swords in there and then just switch to the bow when you're at range type? It's going to be interesting. Melee weapon. Oh, sorry, I already said that. There is no gunpowder weapons in AOC. However, there will be something very similar to it that uses elemental magic. What are
It's
you guys'
interesting.
thoughts about guns and things like that?
I mean, if it works for the
Lore.
not time period but lore, or if it doesn't, I
Mm.
mean, it's not gonna. It doesn't bother me either way.
Yeah, I think it worked well in WoW, but I don't want to see because I think like Ashes is so high fantasy. Not that WoW's not high fantasy, but um, it's just so. I just like compare it to Tolkien, in Lord of the Rings. So
Yeah.
um, them.
Depends on how grand you can make your civilizations. Like if your civilizations would have likely grown into those types of weapons as they
Right.
grows bigger in a metropolis and stuff like that. Depending on the other stuff that you can upgrade with that, I'd be like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. But like you have siege weapons.
That's what I mean. Like it doubles as the siege weapon and stuff like that. So all the essence or whatever it's going to be, what's the gunpowder basically of the game,
Right.
is going to be used in that stuff too. So
I don't mind it.
yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, if it's cool because it's another ranged weapon. If people like range, they can choose that option. They're not just restricted to a bow or crossbow or throwing axes or whatever it is. You can actually get like a gun element into it.
One thing I'm a little, not that I don't like it, but I'm like, I wish I had the option is to be forced to have like our melee and a ranged weapon. Like I should be allowed to have two, like just give me two weapon slots, and if I want to put a ranged weapon in that slot, I should have that freedom. I shouldn't be mandated to have a ranged weapon.
Yeah, I don't think you have to have one. I think it's just another slot, and you'd be at a disadvantage. Whether you really used it or not, like you could just use it for polling, like it doesn't even need to be anything crazy. Or if they're running away and your cooldowns are down of your closing gap abilities, you could just pull out your range weapon and hopefully just finish them off with that.
Yeah, but as a tank, like you could have your sword and board for your more defensive needs, and then you pull out the battle axe when you need to get some damage in.
Oh, I
But
see what you mean. Like you want it just to straight difference. Yeah.
yeah, just give me two weapon slots and
Yeah.
let me
So
pick what I put in those slots.
yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's just going to be you have those 3 slots and then you have an additional 3 slots that you can just rotate in. Like you have
I
that.
think it's one melee, shield, and range. Like
Yeah, and
those are
that's it.
just.
That's all you get.
Mhm.
And you can't change gear in combat or anything like that. So,
I don't believe so.
no, you can't. Best in slot weapons and armor is based on a character's role and the type of monster they are facing. So it's more so on the opponent and your gear rather than having like the highest stats or highest damage or whatever.
So is there gonna be like elemental affinities and stuff like that? Like this gear set's good against fire. We're doing the
Yeah.
fire.
Yep. Yeah, like strengths and weaknesses.
That's cool.
I.e., like undead's probably going to be against holy damage and what have you. So I think that's going to be a big trade off. And going back to the crafting bit, trade off on what you want to actually enchant your gear with, because you could be mainly fighting undead, so you're going to need holy damage for sure. All right, guys. So that wraps it up. Thank you guys for coming again. Thank you guys. Thanks, boys.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and tune in next week as we trek on to the launch. We'll see further things and further topics to discuss about Ashes of Creation. But thanks again. We are out. See you guys.
Later.